we'll go ahead and get started. I just want to start off by, expressing my sincere gratitude and appreciation to a lot of people out there. These things don't happen on their own. They don't happen by themselves, and it's never because of just one person. And I recognize that. So I want to start first with the good Lord above and thanking Him for His continued blessings on me and my family. Terry and Kim both for recognizing what we've done and also where this team and this organization are headed in terms of the collective vision that we have for our program. Really since day one, it's been a special bond and what I would consider a bond that continues to grow that I don't know that I've seen in the relationship between head coach, general manager, and ownership. So I'm excited to watch that continue to grow over the years to come, and I appreciate the opportunity. To Brandon and his staff, each and every coach, head coach in the league would tell you that to be a good coach is one thing, to have a good staff is one thing, but to have the opportunity to work with a general manager that knows what he's doing and is at the top of his game and being fed players that we can then mold and develop as coaches, it goes without saying, but that's a critical piece of what we've done here and what we'll continue to do. And Brandon has had a big hand in that. To my staff and our players, as I've been told for a long time by my dad, who was a coach, and the great coaches that I've been fortunate enough to be around, you're only as good as the people around you. And I think that's true. And so, and that includes everyone in our building and across the Pagula Sports Entertainment business. We just get a tremendous amount of support. I get a tremendous amount of support from each and every one of them, and it's much appreciated. And then the fans. I know this year is going to be not normal and unfortunate in terms of some of what is allowed. And our environment at home in particular may change. And in fact, our environment on the road may change. But I want everyone out there to know that you're with us. And we'll take you into every game and every stadium that we're in this year. And we are working to give you what you've looked for so long and the title that you so desire. So, and then last but not least, I want to thank my family for their continued support. It's a crazy business we're all in, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do without their support and love. So I appreciate that as well. So with that, we'll open it up to your questions.
Hey, Sean, Heather Prusak here. Good to see you. Congratulations on signing your extension. I want to build off of that. You just touched on so many different topics, but what is it like for you to bring some stability to this franchise that, hasn't seen it in so long now?
Yeah, Heather, good to see you, and I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, it's I think more than anything, it's nice to have for the people in our building, for our players. When you can have that type of stability, that just gives them some clarity and some certainty on what the future holds. And I think that's important for long-term growth and trying to, in this case, win a world championship.
Thanks.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, John Scott, good to see you. Congratulations.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that. I like how you guys work together on this here, you and Heather.
Purely coincidence. I'm upstairs, she's downstairs. But you understood the situation you were coming in here, and you've never shied away from understanding how important this team is for this region, this fan base, and things like that. Have you allowed yourself to see and know how far things have come in short order, and now knowing that you have so much more time to continue to build?
Yeah, there's been time. We all had time, I think, as a world and certainly in our country and then Western New York for us to have some family time and have a little bit of downtime through the quarantine months there. And so, yeah, I was able to reflect a little bit on what it was like when we got here, but also where it's gone now, to your point. And just very, very grateful for the help that I've gotten. And, it hasn't been an easy lift, but we've moved it in a lot of ways. But that said, there's more work ahead. The reason I came here, the reason we work every day is to bring a world championship to this team and this city and our fan base across the world. And that's what we're here to do.
Thanks. Congrats again, man.
Thanks, John.
Sean, congratulations and well-deserved.
Thanks, Vic.
Very happy for you and your family. So you mentioned unusual circumstances. This has been, we know, the craziest of off seasons. And I wonder if, as much as you can, take us sort of into the process of getting this deal done. These things don't happen in a snap of a finger. So knowing what the complications might have been with the whole pandemic, and where, you know, what you had to be worried about in addition to just football stuff. Walk as much as you can through, you know, that period of getting it done and reaching the finish line, and your level of confidence maybe all the way through that this was going to get done.
Well, yeah, Vic, thank you. First of all, I appreciate the kind words as well. You know, my agent, Bob Lamont, did a phenomenal job along with Terry and Kim of the communication that's needed in these situations to get things like this done. And then also just getting on the same page for where we were, how they saw me, and how I saw our situation. And as I mentioned at the outset, the vision for this organization, yeah, it's great to acknowledge what we've been able to accomplish to this point, but also be on the same page for where we see it moving forward. And that was an important piece in terms of, you know, we still have work to do, and how we want that work to unfold and what it needs to look like for us to win a world championship. That was an important piece. And then the patience, as you mentioned, these are not ideal times in our world, and we're very sensitive to that. I am, and I know Terry and Kim and Bob are as well. And so collectively, just being mindful of what's going on around us in our community. And there's a lot of people out there, you know, struggling, and not only, you know, physically, but economically as well. So very, very mindful of that, and just appreciative at the end of the day that we can get this done. And for me, it adds clarity to my situation and my family's situation. Then again, as I mentioned to Heather's question, that we can have that clarity and that certainty of what we have, and then get our focus where it needs to be, and that's to get ready for the season at this point.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Vic.
Hey, Coach, congrats on the contract extension. Excited to have you in Buffalo a lot longer. How much do you think this culture that you built here in such a short time had to do with the fact that you're signing a contract extension?
Well, that's the start of it, Maddie. You know, I think really to sustain winning, you've got to build a culture and a good foundation. And then the culture really breeds the chemistry that our players have been able to build together. And again, some of that's been driven by me, but a lot of it also comes, and the credit goes to our staff and our players for the bond that they've been able to build with one another. And what you're seeing with our team right now is these guys that have been with us a few years are really leading the other players who haven't been with us, and in some cases the rookies as well. And so, you know, we're just excited for this opportunity to continue to grow it, and just philosophically believe in building the culture first. And that took time. There were some certainly unpopular decisions, and I recognize that. But as you've heard me say before, getting the right people on the bus early was important for us in order to get us to where we are today. And some of those growing pains were tough. I never take those lightly, because they all involve people's livelihoods in a lot of cases, and those are tough decisions.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Maddie.
Hi, Coach. Congratulations on the contract extension. When you look back to January of 2017 and you first got the job, what change between then and now are you most proud of as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, I would say there's two things really. Number one, that we've tried to do this the right way, meaning, you know, to me, in a way that's deep in integrity and also character. And then the other piece is respect for the Buffalo Bills around the league. And, you know, again, we have not won the world championship, which is what we're working every day towards. That said, the respect now that the Buffalo Bills are given around the league and league circles outside of Western New York, I think is probably my most satisfying piece of it, if you will, as a coach. When we go to the combine, I've often said it's the greatest compliment a coach can get when other coaches talk about how your team plays, how hard they play, how tough they are, how resilient they are. And that's some of the things that we hear now as a staff when we go to the combine. And to me, that gives us great joy.
Hey, Sean, first of all, I'm going to echo what my colleagues have said. Congrats on the new contract.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Now, a two-part question here. First, do you ever think about how far you've come since that meeting in Andy Reid's office back in 2002 where he moved you on to Jim Johnson's staff? And how did that experience in Philadelphia make you into the coach that you are right now?
Yeah, so last night I got a text from Ron Rivera, who I also worked for in Carolina, and my response to Coach Rivera was, I learned a lot from both him and as well as Andy, and he wrote back saying we all learned a lot from Andy, which is true, and being shaped as a young coach on that staff, being around Andy and the other lieutenants that I was around, really shaped who I've become as a football coach. As a person, just watching these guys balance home life and work life in this demanding business that we're all in. And so they were great models for me in a lot of ways, including Andy. And again, always indebted to Jim Johnson for what he taught me both on and off the field as a defensive coach as well.
All right. Thanks, Sean. And like I said, congrats once again.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Hey, Sean, Mike Catalana in Rochester. Congratulations. We haven't had a chance to say that very often to Bill's coaches through the years that I've been covering the team. And part of the reason I'm
well aware of that.
Yes. Is the coach and the GM not in sync? And so the reason I bring that, you brought up Brandon and what he's done. My impression would be you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't feel obviously very comfortable with your GM and you guys knowing what's going on. So not to push what he's going to have going forward, but how confident are you that the two of you guys will be together doing this for a while? Because obviously you guys seem to be very much in sync.
Yeah, obviously, that's Mike, that's a decision for Terry and Kim, and I respect that. My view on Brandon hasn't changed since the day we first met. I mean, when I was around him in Carolina, he always had a great way about him, in particular with people skills, and then to me, a great balance of the business and the operation, and then also blending the football side. And that's unique around the league, I think, and for most GMs to have that experience on the business side of the football end of things. And then, I really can't envision myself working with anybody else but Brandon moving forward. For coaches, as I mentioned earlier, it's one thing to be a good coach and develop players, but if you're not being fed good players, it's almost like drinking from a dry hose, and that's hard. That's a hard thing to sustain over the course of time. So being fed good players, being fed players that match what we're looking for, Brandon has done a phenomenal job, and I can't envision myself working with any other GM.
All right, thanks, Sean.
Yep, thanks.
Hey, Sean, Sal Mayorana in Rochester. Congratulations. Very happy for you and your family.
Thanks, Sal. Appreciate that.
Hey, look, since you've been here, you've obviously had a nice pipeline between Carolina and Buffalo and some of the guys you've brought in. As you look at the current recruiting class that you brought in this year, it looks like this group really might have the most impact potentially, given who's here. Could you maybe just talk a little bit about the importance those four guys that you brought in might have this season?
You mentioned four guys. Go ahead.
I guess Josh Norman, Klein, Mario Addison, and Butler.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's always nice. I remember when we got to Philadelphia, Andy signed a couple players from Green Bay that he knew from Green Bay and his time in Green Bay. And it's always nice, number one, that we're able to, get those players here, but also it's humbling on the other end that they would want to come and play for me and Brandon again, because there's 31 other teams that they could choose from. And so, just to be able to reconnect with those guys and see how they've grown over the years, Josh Norman, AJ, Mario, Vernon. I mean, the list goes on, right? So it's pretty special to be able to reunite with those guys, their families as well, and see how they've grown not only on the field but off the field as people, and it gives you great joy as a coach to be able to at least have some small part of that.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure. So it looks like a nice, beautiful day, huh? Wherever you are.
Yeah.
Rochester. Is that Rochester?
Yes. What a
Blue
world.
skies. Woke up this morning, man, at blue skies in Buffalo. Where else would you rather be right now, right?
I've heard that one before.
Hey, Sean. Congrats. I'm curious, after listening to you for the past few years, a couple of things have kind of stood out. You said you don't know what you don't know, and you've always preached adaptability and learning and everything like that. So since you've had this time to reflect throughout the quarantine, as we all have, what are some things that you thought you knew coming into your first time being a head coach that you wound up finding out, well, I really didn't know about that? And what didn't you know that you know now as you've evolved into the job?
Yeah, Joe, it's interesting when I even just going into the quarantine, right? You think, I think when it started, I was 45 years old. I had a birthday over the quarantine, and now 46. And man, you think you know yourself, and you've been through a lot of experiences to this point in my life. But I learned a lot about myself just going through the months of quarantine that I don't think I knew about myself before. And that's what happens when you step into a fire in some ways, and you come out having learned a little bit more about yourself. And that was one of my goals for the quarantine, that when I looked back on it, I will want to be able to say, because we'll always talk about it, I will want to be able to say that I handled it the right way. And the same could be said for this job. And that's what, I believe. Listen, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I'm continuing to grow and embrace that growth mindset. And I think that's important, that I'm not a finished product. I've learned a lot. You think, I remember Ron Rivera used to come into my office in Carolina and kind of sit down, and he would need kind of a debrief, someone to vent to at times. And he would say to me, hey, just wait until you get your chance. You'll see. And in this case, he was right. You never really know until you're in that person's shoes, until you're in that job, what things they have to weigh when they make decisions. And so, you know me well enough, Joe, to know that I'm not the type of person that takes the approach that I knew it all coming in here. And so, I've been humbled at times, but I've also think that I came in taking a very humble approach. And so I've learned a lot from people around me, from Brandon, from Terry and Kim, from the leadership group, as well as all my staff and our players. And I think that's been also a key to us developing over the years, is that we all embrace that mindset that none of us have all the answers, and we can all learn from each and every one of us. And I think that to me has been a big part of our success here at the Bills.
Curiously, what did you learn over quarantine?
Oof, man. That even I need some interaction once in a while, right? And the mental health piece is real. When I first heard that initially, I feel like I'm a pretty tough person. I was raised in a tough environment, and the wrestling part of me taught me mental toughness early on in my life. And I've been through experiences that I've had to remain tough through. And I would tell you that that part of the quarantine, I'm sure for a lot of people out there, myself included, was real. Is to how do you stay in a good mental space every day when you're in that situation. And so I can just appreciate that about our society. And I also understand how important that is to daily life.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean, congratulations, like everybody has said, and also thank you. It's nice for us that we don't need to meet somebody new, so thanks. You mentioned your family in the beginning. Specifically in regards to that, obviously being a head coach in the NFL is a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. But what kind of stability does this bring for you guys, not necessarily on the football side? I'd imagine it's probably pretty nice knowing where you're going to be for a while and that your family can kind of keep its roots here in Western New York.
It does, and that's that's a pretty cool part of this too. Is that look, at the end of the day, just being very open. It's changed when Terry and Kim. When I first met Terry and Kim, 4 years ago now, that meeting changed the course of my life for the better, and I'm very grateful for that. And so is my family. This in a similar way, but it also gives us, to your point, some stability as a family, and also stability for my staff as well, and that's important. And the players that we hand selected, Brandon, myself, and our staffs, to come to Buffalo. And so I think that's the ripple effect of all this, is that it creates clarity, it creates stability, however you want to say it, and that's how people can become the best versions of themselves. I would say also, I would add, it also creates to me an added responsibility though. This contract is not, just like when I first signed with the Bills, it was a responsibility. Now, the responsibility to me, I take on even more. Not that I didn't before, but I think there's a tendency to let up. There's a tendency to rest on one's laurels, and I'm not wired that way. And I promised Terry and Kim when I first took the job 4 years ago now, that I would handle the responsibility the right way. And I wake up every day with that burning desire to do that.
Thanks, Sean.
Coach, good morning. Mookie Hawkins, Buffalo Sports
Mookie,
1080.
my man, you got a great backdrop every time, man.
Hey, at least now I know where I can go get a loan for the next 5-6 years, right? Hey, since day one, when you first walked into the building, Coach, you talked about how you wanted to change the culture, and these guys had to earn the right to win. Can you please elaborate on, what you meant by that statement, and how would that carry over into this season?
Yeah, well, earning the right to win, that doesn't change. That's the way this league works. And when you kick it off on a Sunday afternoon at 1:00, if you haven't done your work, if you haven't prepared, let's just in the short term say Monday through Saturday of that week, then the other team is starting with a leg up on you. What we're trying to do is at least break even or earn a leg up on our opponents by how we prepare. And to me, that's really big picture wise what earning the right is all about. And then it really fits our community. This is a hardworking community. As I've mentioned before, I go for workouts in the morning, early in the morning, jogs, and I see tail lights backing out of driveways at the wee hours in the morning. And that's what I love about Buffalo. It's a man-made, hardworking person's community. And that's been a great fit for me and my family in the way I was raised, and the core values I was brought up with. And so, I can just tell you that this is great. I appreciate this press conference, and I certainly appreciate all you on the media end of this, and certainly appreciate your help and support over the years as well. I recognize that. That said, we're focused. I can't wait to get this over with and get focused on the season here.
Absolutely, Coach. And once again, congratulations, and we're happy to know that you'll be continuing this process for the next 4 to 5, 6 years.
I appreciate that, Mookie. Thank you very much.
Hi, Sean. Congrats on the new deal. You mentioned there, the responsibility and the added responsibility that this brings, and you talk often about the standard that you try to set in the building. How much do you feel like this contract signals that the standard has changed for you and for the entire organization?
Listen, I appreciate the contract. I think it reinforces it. I think that's probably a better question for people in our building. I would tell you that if I had to guess, I think that they didn't need to. I think they would say they didn't need to see a contract extension to get that message. It's something that's preached every day, and hopefully in a respectful manner. That knowing what it takes to win in this league, we have to have that standard every day. There's got to be a certain urgency about how we approach our work every day. And then that standard applies to how we think, how we dress, how we act out in the community. It's not just on the grass, it's all over the place. And I think our players have a good understanding for that. And I think the people in our building and across PSE and all the people that we affect, I think they have a pretty good feel for what and who Sean McDermott is and what I expect.
Thanks, Sean.
Man.
All right, guys, I'm gonna head out. I appreciate everyone out there. Thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for your support. Hope everyone stays safe and healthy out there and continues to back up or mask up. God bless.